So that's exactly what I was going to tell you happened to me. And it was like my late 30s. I set out to do it for 90 days. And I literally did it every day for 3 years. I couldn't stop. I know, but I think a lot of us did it that way because you built in a recovery day and you built in yoga. Why do you think it was so, like, why did we all love it so much? I mean, you were great, obviously. And you were funny.
Yes. Dr. Mindy in the house. All right.
I appreciate that. The carnivore diet.
Because of what we eat.
Honestly, you've really touched my heart.
So Fast Like a Girl, it's ready for pre-order now. I hope this book changes your life the way the information has changed hundreds of thousands of women that have applied it. From the bottom of my heart, enjoy and let's get healthy together. Let me just start off by thanking you, not only for joining me here, but P90X changed my life. Do you hear people say that all the time?
You know, oddly enough, yes. I'm still amazed by that. And I was in Seattle at a wedding. My cousin got married and you know, you're just walking through, you know, wherever and P90X, you know, I mean, it's just crazy. And then people want to have, I mean, the thing is old. It was 2004 or something, and it's still going strong and people are still doing it for the umpteenth time. And you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's just common sense exercises and a plan, you know. You find your purpose, I'll hand you the plan and you can get busy and you'll do all right with that program. And I mean, I've learned a lot since and done some other things since, but you know, it'd probably be about 8 moves I'd take out at P90X, but overall it was all pretty good.
Ooh, what are the 8 moves you'd take out?
Dive bomber push-ups, probably wouldn't do that one.
Yeah.
It can be really problematic on people's shoulders. It's not for everybody.
Okay.
What else? Yeah, a couple of moves in martial arts are a little twisty, a little tough on the glute, on the sciatic area. Yeah. But for the most part, you know, I mean, if you're modifying, as we ask you to do, we do that. I mean, there are people that were 100, 200 pounds overweight and lost it all doing P90X, just doing their thing their way, you know, sort of interpreting it to accommodate their skill level. And over time, you know, I mean, a lot of people became 120X and 1 year X. It was different for different folks, you know. But anybody who got past the second month started seeing something for sure.
So that's exactly what I was going to tell you happened to me. And it was like my late 30s. I set out to do it for 90 days. And I literally did it every day for 3 years. I couldn't stop. I know, but I think a lot of us did it that way because you built in a recovery day and you built in yoga. Why do you think it was so, like, why did we all love it so much? I mean, you were great, obviously, and you were funny. I learned to fall in love with the burpee from you.
Well, I mean, it was a number of things. There was nothing else like it ever. And oddly enough, there hasn't really been anything since because everybody wants to do it their thing, their way. And having been a jack of all trades and a master of none, and knowing that there were a lot of weak areas in my fitness, you know, my martial arts skills were terrible. My cardiovascular strength, endurance wasn't great. You know what I mean? And those are things that I really worked on over, you know, way before P90X. That's what I gave my clients. And when I was training Tom Petty and Billy Idol and Annie Lennox and Stephen Stills, couldn't help Stephen, and Bruce Springsteen, and tried. And God bless him. And but you know what I mean? These are just like, oh, okay, well, I'm pretty good at the weights and the push-ups and the pull-ups, but I'm not good at these other things. I think it's important that we incorporate them because that really, you know, there's more muscle recruitment, there's more time under tension, and a lot of these things were skill-based, right? So it's not just, you know, these linear movements that you would do over and over again. I'm going to do bench press. I'm going to do push-ups. I'm going to do, right, which is all part of it, but you know, I mean, ABRAPRX was just sort of reinventing core work, and I've reinvented it 5 times since, doing it different ways, you know. But and you know, the sets were beautiful. The cast members were all mic'd up and funny, and you know, exchanging silliness with me. And then the sets were really beautiful, and the graphics and everything else. I mean, we spent a lot of money. Beachbody spent a lot of money to make it really stand out. And then, of course, I brought my interesting flair.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it was entertainment plus working out, perhaps, plus the result. I mean, that's why we kept doing it. My kids were little at the time, and we would have, my girlfriends would come over and we would just do it in my living room. And then we'd sit and, make salad and have lunch afterwards. It was like a thing, like P90X in my house in the morning was a thing. And there was definite entertainment value. So super grateful for you and everything you did with that.
Well, you're in your lair there and you're doing your thing. We did something called Power 90 prior to that, which was sort of P90X light. And it seemed like the right thing to make at the time. And it did really well. And it was the reason why we were able to finance P90X. But, P90X didn't do anything for the first year because everybody was intimidated by it. They would just look at this, they would look at this craziness. There was never a program prior to P90X that had pull-ups in it, at least not through an infomercial, maybe, some other, like in a book or something, or you can go to the library and do something, or something you learned at in your college weightlifting class or whatever, or something you learned when you were an athlete, growing up through junior high school and high school. But this was something that was being delivered on your TV, and we're asking you to do all these things, and you have to buy the stuff, and you got to do pull-ups and push-ups and lunges and everything else. And so that, it was an anomaly at that point, for sure. And it kind of still is to some degree. And then, I've reinvented the wheel a little bit since, with the P90X2 and P90X3 and 22-minute hardcore. And now my little homegrown product, the Power 4. So,
Which I want to get into, and I love what you're doing with the new Power of 4, because you're really honoring those of us that are aging. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But in between P90X and Power of 4, you also went through your own health hurdles. Can you talk a little bit about that and why you think that came about and how you got out of it?
Well, none of it was easy. All of it was unexpected, and the way out was a long and winding road. Yeah, for sure. I was dealing with some things. I was going through some contract stuff with Beachbody, and 20-year run. My contract was up. I think it was my third or fourth one in the course of 20 years. And I was kind of shocked and appalled at the offer. I just like, wow, 20 years of service. I made everybody rich, and you're not paying me anymore. Like, I know what Tom Brady did when they did that for the Patriots. He left and won a Super Bowl somewhere else. So, and that's how I felt. I just felt like, wow, this is not cool. At the same time, I had some friends that were at the Vegas shooting, and that was a horror story. They all came out okay, but they're traumatized for life. I mean, they truly are. I mean, people getting picked off next to them and stuff. And then Tom Petty dies the next day. He was a guy trained for 32 years. And then, like, I'm not going to work for Beachbody anymore. And one of my favorite friends and clients has passed away. And friends of mine, close friends of mine, are dodging bullets. And I just like, man, oh man. So, I'm sure my cortisol levels were through the roof. My adrenal glands were fried, and I wasn't meditating at the time. I wasn't using anything to really help mitigate the angst that I was dealing with. And so, I just had some friends over for a little party, and I felt this, excruciating pain on the right side of my head. And I thought, oh my God, this is terrible. And then kind of a burning sensation. And then I started, I didn't really notice the herpes zoster, which is what it's called. It's basically shingles. And it was in my ear. And if you're going to get it, you don't want it there because there's, all these nerves that affect your sight and your taste and your smell and your balance. And they were all getting fried, and it was brutal. And within a week, I couldn't walk. I had Bell's palsy. I couldn't eat, couldn't drive, I couldn't work out, couldn't work for anybody. And it went on like that for several months. Justin Bieber is going through it now, I guess. I don't know how badly, but he was there was a prognosis. He has the Bell's palsy. Mine was terrible. I mean, my face was completely deformed. And wow. And, I couldn't walk in a straight line. It was really tough. And, trials and tribulations over the course of many months. And after about a year, I was normal-ish, at least from the outside looking in, but I was still dealing with balance issues and taste and smelling issues and all kinds of other things. And, what happens is with Ramsay-Hunt syndrome is that eventually the sores heal like any kind of shingles. You can have them on your neck or your back or your shoulders or your torso or wherever people get it. But when it goes away on other parts of your body, you're kind of, you can deal with life again. I was still, because the nerves that it affected inside of my brain were still not healed. And so I was still having tasting issues. And I mean, I could smell secondhand smoke that didn't exist. That was weird. And worst of all was the balance. I mean, now I had something called bilateral vestibular hypofunction. So it's like vertigo. Vertigo is kind of like this, where hypofunction, it's just it feels like you've got Parkinson's in your brain. And it would come and go depending on how much sleep or how much hydration or what kind of nutrition, or whether I was, taking my, getting rid of certain elements and, getting this inflammation down in my digestive system. And there was just so many King's horses and so many King's men and so many, otorhinolaryngologists, and God, it was just endless. And, here it is it'll be 5 years in October, and I'm kind of normal now. I mean, I still have these little bouts of balance issues, but it's been a long haul. But, after the year, I just said like, hey, my balance isn't great. Some other issues aren't great, but I have to go back to work. Yeah. And so you kind of fake it till you make it. And now I don't have to fake it so much.
Yeah. We call that tipping your bucket, when all of a sudden there's so much either emotional or chemical or physical stress that whatever's been lying underneath there, it just all, like, the bucket gets tipped over and all the symptoms show up and all the toxins show up. And now it starts to trigger, genetics that lead to autoimmune conditions. And the hardest part that I've seen for people is that there's no one way out. There's probably like 1,000 things you did in that 5 years, I would think.
Well, it was, going to an endocrinologist, nutritionist, and saying, hey, what's going on? Oh, I have a leaky gut. I have leaky brain. Oh, what the heck is that? You know what I mean? Who knew that my digestive tract was leaking poo into my body and creating all this inflammation everywhere? And so I got that worked out. And I did all kinds of blood work. So there was no sesame seeds, no onions, no white rice, no tomatoes, no dairy, no corn, no wheat, no soy. You know what I mean? So, I was eating pretty clean before, but it got crazy clean after that. And then very fortunately, I met with these folks who are manufacturing my supplement line. Awesome. This is the Power 4. This different. Mine's called Power Life. And so just kind of filling in some gaps nutritionally with a product that we created called Foundation 4. There's probiotics, prebiotics, tons of magnesium, sun fiber, 2 servings of vegetables, just to kind of get my gut working again. And then we had the protein powder, because I was so emaciated at that point. I lost 25 pounds. So we learned about HMB and vitamin D3 and mixing that in with some high quality plant and whey protein. And I was just doing that twice a day. Plus I was starting to try to work out again. I mean, it's when your balance is off, like running on a treadmill, I had to hold on. It was just crazy. Wow. I'd get on a bike because I could sit there and hold on. Running, look at that drunk guy running through the woods, I mean, my first gig was in Las Vegas, and I walked into because it's such a visual thing, this bilateral stuff. You walk into Vegas and it's just lights and people and dinging and donging. And I'm using my carry-on rollaway as a sort of as a walker to get through the casino. And you had to do what you had to do to sort of survive, But little by little, I adapted. I mean, I had a great history with exercise and diet, and I really cleaned up the diet. I've been vegan for almost a year and a half now, and that's done wonders for me. All my blood work is great. My cholesterol down. My cholesterol's never been lower, and my aches and pains are gone. I don't have shoulder issues anymore. I'm back. I have little sciatica that I'm getting over with, but that's your basic rehab there. But knees, I don't need PRP and Synvisc in my knees anymore. It's just crazy. Like, oh wow, because I'm eating tomatoes. I mean, I don't know. I'll try anything once, and if it works, I'll keep doing it. And so far, so good. So,
amazing.
And now I'm not what I say I'm my strongest, but I'm pretty dang strong. It's fun. I just turned 64. So wow. Yeah, I feel good.
You look great for 64. That's impressive. There's a lot of people listening that are, overachiever worker outers. And when you hit that place where your body can't do what it used to be able to do, that messes with your mind. Did you have any mental strategies? You talked about meditation, but as your health was coming back, I mean, this is the core of who you are, is you're the P90X guy. How did you mentally work with getting not being able to perform in your workouts at the level that you used to be able to perform at?
Well, a lot of it had to do with the people that I was surrounding myself with. I mean, there was a long period there where, I wasn't having people over. I couldn't even get down the stairs there for a couple of months. And then finally, when I was beginning to recover, I said, hey, everybody start coming back, because I work out I mean, tonight there'll be about 5 or 6 people here tonight doing plyometrics. And then tomorrow morning, there'll be about 3 or 4. And then Friday, I got a couple of friends. And then Saturday, I go to a class, I do yoga. And then Sunday, I got as many as 12 here. So it really is my tribe, as we say.
Yeah.
And it was those friends and my family and my sister, who I love and adore, who's a fitness freak like me, just kind of checking in with each other and working out with each other and keeping our expectations down and just being in the moment and doing our best and forgetting the rest. You know what I mean? And then, it's just being repetitive. It was a combination of being repetitive over the course of time coming out of that thing, like just tracking my progress, much like I did with P90X, like, oh, how many reps there and how much range of motion here and how much weight, and always checking in on my flexibility and range of motion stuff, because, as I'm getting older, I don't want to start, if I feel good, I don't want to get hurt. Right. So that was part of it. And then always adding in new things, it's like, I love being horrible at new stuff because I know that there's going to be tremendous gains through that process. So I added some ninja stuff. I had a ninja course put in the backyard, which I was terrible at. And I have a 20-foot rope and a 17-foot rope, and I have 2 different peg boards, and always challenging myself to do stuff. And then, when I was younger and I couldn't do something, I pretty much quit right away. And a few things I was okay at, I would stick with. Like with skiing, I loved it so much and I wasn't very good, but I could at least get down the hill. I started, taking instruction and learning how to be a better skier and where my head should be and my hand should be and my, and how to manipulate the snow so I could enjoy it more. But, other things where, oh, I'm terrible at this, I quit, and that just went away as I, became a more sophisticated adult, and I was reading a lot of personal development. There are a lot of books behind me that are, you know what I mean? Just keep showing. I mean, I'm reading Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday right now, which is just another reminder. There's a lot of things in there I already know, but it's just another nice reminder. I'm reading Steve Martin's book too, Born Standing Up. Just, it's an autobiographical history of where he was and how he was and his upbringing with his parents. And then, all this, 10-year struggle of trying to become a stand-up and how miserable it was, but he just did it anyway because he loved it. And that's what my recovery was like. It was like starting all over again. And I'm like, okay, I mean, this might take 3 months or 4 months or a year, but you know what I mean? If I can do an extra pull-up on this day or a couple extra push-ups, or I can get around that pegboard where I couldn't do it 2 weeks ago, that's gold. You know what I mean?
Amazing.
Just keeping my expectations down and being in the moment and hanging out with cool folks who want to keep fighting the good fight. That's where I was. Yeah.
I actually think that idea right there, and I want to chat about the power of 4, because I feel like as we age, that's the mentality of fitness that we need to have. And in our younger years, we tend to just push on through. And there is that, like, when the pain shows up in a workout, those of us that have worked out a lot just know how to turn off the pain signals and the inner critic that's telling you to stop. But as you get older, and when you're in a situation like that, learning to pause and not push through it, I think is important for overall fitness. Do you feel like that's the new strategy you have with the power of 4 and what you're seeing just with those of us who followed you early on in the years, and now we're all modifying our workouts? Is that part of the new plan?
I mean, it should be, I think, that's what do your best and forget the rest is about. I mean, doing your best, that means you got to be checking in throughout the course of the workout. How are you feeling right now on a scale of 1 to 10? Are you a 10 and dying and you feel like you're about to, a tendon or a ligament or something's gonna go, you know what I mean? And so that's just always kind of checking in, setting some goals. And if you don't achieve them, don't beat yourself up. I mean, I think too many people are judging the process. And I think if you're more in the moment, if you're more present, and you have your basic agenda, whatever that workout is, whether it's a cardio workout or a plyo or martial arts or body weight or weight training or HIIT training, or, or even meditation. A lot of people get so up into their head with meditation. And I say, yeah, you're supposed to. That's, it's not like, oh, I'm going to meditate right now. And it's just you're going to be a blank slate for the next 45 minutes. Your head's going to bounce around. You're going to be thinking thoughts, and you just take a breath and you let it go, and they're going to come back in, and that's all going to be okay. If you understand that regardless of what you're doing, and you're not overdoing it. And a lot of people, that's the big thing. Like, that's why trainers are so valuable. Having somebody in the room who's certified and knows what they're doing. They're checking your form. They're checking your breathing. They're seeing whether your face is going to turn purple. Sometimes you're not paying close enough attention, and you think, you're supposed to be working this hard, and you don't realize, oh, I'm 45, 50, 60 years old. And this is how I end up getting hurt. And you can, then you give, then, then you do the old, I told you so. And it wasn't really, it was because you weren't paying close enough attention. You were just, and a lot of people don't have enough history with it. Like, you having done P90X for 3 years in a row, you're very intuitive now. You have great instincts as to, I'm this age, I maybe didn't sleep well last night. I maybe had a couple of cocktails. You could put all the pieces together to go, yeah, I'm going to be a 75%er today. I don't need to go 100%, and when on my Sundays, I've got a group here and we're climbing ropes and we're going around pegboards and it's very, very competitive. And so, the night before I'm going to bed at 10 o'clock and I'm drinking tons of water and I'm, I don't drink alcohol anyway, but I'm preparing myself for the competition on Sunday. But then Monday is a cardio day. Put the heart monitor on, going through the motions. And if I have the energy, I'll go get after it. And if I don't have the energy, perfect. I'm not going to try to push myself. Most people just don't know that. And so they have to kind of figure it out for themselves. And that's why we have, with a power of 4, we have powering down and powering up. So when you're looking at the screen, just like with P90X, we had modifiers, right? So powering down means that there's somebody over here on the left and they're not jumping as high, they're not going as deep. If this is, be smart here, this is where you might want to be the first 3, 4, 5 weeks. And then later on, you can kind of glance over at the person who's jumping through the roof or doing bunches of push-ups and lifting heavy weights. You know what I mean? It's just sort of understanding that it's a process and it takes time, you know what I mean? And Rome wasn't built in a day, and you got to stop judging it, and you do your best and forget the rest. And your best changes from day to day.
I love that. I love that. I don't know if I'm coming to talk hormones with your group. I think tomorrow. But one of the things that happens with women over 40, specifically women, is as estrogen goes down, the collagen production goes down. So as a 52-year-old woman, I've had to really change and vary my workouts on a weekly basis. Otherwise, if I do the same thing over and over again, I'm more prone to injury. Mm-hmm. Are you seeing that with women as well as they age, that they're just, if we're not varying it, and you're the king of variation, that's really one of the things that P90X, I think, brought to us, was that it was so different and every day you were doing something different. But for the woman over 40, that's a real gift. So do you feel like you're seeing women in their 50s and 60s getting in better shape with less and more variation?
Absolutely. I think the reason why most people struggle or they can't stick with anything long term, even if there's a bunch of variety in the mix, is they end up getting bored, they end up plateauing, or they get hurt. You know what I mean? And so you're trying to avoid those 3 things at all costs. And if you can do that, then you're moving on the right track. The other thing is consistency and intensity. Consistency is everything. It's not like we show up to work 3 times a week and hope we're going to get paid. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm going to skip sleep tonight. No, you know what? I'm going to go on a 4-day fast and just not do anything. It really depends on the individual too, of course. But whether you're male or female, some basic rules apply. Hydration is obviously very important. Getting decent sleep is very important. Meditation, on a semi-regular basis is super important. Nutritious, non-inflammatory foods is really important. And it's less, intensity is important. You want to be able to track to see if you're getting better, but only in tiny little increments. You know what I mean? It's not like you're going to, for the first couple of weeks, you're going to do X, and then like on day 30, you're just going to start lifting the roof or jumping higher. It just has to be in tiny little increments over time. That's really important as well. And I think if you stick to the variety and your sleep is great, your hydration is great, and you're staying off the alcohol and your non-inflammatory foods, whether it's pescatarian or veganism or vegetarianism or keto or whatever your thing is. And then you said something, which is spot on when it comes to exercise. It's like doing the same things over and over again, expecting you're going to turn out fine without injury, which is that's rare. It's not going to happen. Yeah. The same thing with food. You got to be really consistent with your food. And it's so funny. Like people will say, I'm doing everything right. I'm doing everything that you're saying. And I'll go hang out with them for a couple of days. And I watch their workouts and I see what they're eating. And I'm thinking, like a lot of people they don't live in the real world. They live in a kind of a fantasy version of the world, because they understand that regular exercise and super healthy eating and good sleep and all these things, it's very rare very rare to do it all right. Now for me, it's taken decades for me to get there. It took me decades to become a vegan. I mean, I always thought it was kind of not enough calories for me or not enough protein or whatever. And, so I had all these disbeliefs that I hung on to that were slowing me down, preventing me from getting as fit and as strong as I can. Who would think that just plants were going to do the job, but it works for me. You know what I mean? And so you have to you can't be too pious about it. You can't be too myopic about whatever you're doing. You got to be open to change and open to new information and open to new exercise strategies and things. So like right now, I've been taking these gymnastics classes. Horrible, worse,
awesome.
Like just a human 2x4. I'm like a 2x4 meets some rebar surrounded with cement. You know what I mean? Like the exercises are virtually impossible for me. And we're not tumbling. We're all, the goal here is to kind of work on headstands and handstands and things like that. And really it's all, every exercise is core work. You know what I mean? And it's not just crunches, it's everything you can imagine. And it's really, and that's the other thing too. I mean, anybody who's willing to constantly reinvent the wheel and try new things and be okay with being terrible at some stuff for a while, that's where the real change comes from. And, I mean, and yoga and meditation and stretching are everything. You can't, if you really want to push pretty hard and challenge your body and try new things, a stiff body's just not gonna, stiff body. And a lot of people are under the impression that they're just, I'm just tight. Well, you're tight because you never, ever, ever work on it. You skip the P90X yoga every single time for a run instead. You know what I mean?
Or the stretch video.
It's okay to be physically weak, and it's okay and work really hard on it. It's okay to be cardiovascularly out of condition and keep working on it. But if you're tight, that's it. I'm tight. I'm not going to work on it. It's like, it doesn't make any sense to me. When I went to yoga for the first time, down dog was like climbing Everest. You know what I mean? It's like looking around the room and they all look so comfortable. You know what I mean? And I look more like a human rectangle than down dog. And me personally, later in life, I just love being bad at things because I know there's going to be a fun little journey here as I get better. And that has to be the case. You just have to be okay with being, not good at certain things, and you just keep coming. I mean, an exercise has got to be a 5 to 6 days a week. It's 3 days a week. You might as well throw yourself down a set of stairs. It's the same general result because the 4 days off are going to dominate the 3 days on.
Interesting.
Always.
Okay, talk about that for a second, because again, what P90X did, and perhaps Power of 4 does the same thing, is you had us doing different things every day. So, and it was every day. So give us like a week layout. What would you say? 1 day, 2 days of cardio, 1 day of yoga, some strength training, and let's talk about it in context of somebody who's like 50 and older
and up. Well, I mean, P90X was very, very popular, but not that many people finished it. You know what I mean? They got all through. They got, chest and back. That was a nightmare. Okay, plyo the next day. Box on shelf in closet. You know what I mean? And then like a year later, they go, dang it, I got to get that thing off the. And then they would try it again. They get to day 30 and they would quit. So there's very few people who just bought it the next day and got busy, did 90 days. Because, we're asking a lot of folks, a lot of folks aren't used to working out 6 days a week, which is exactly what the Power 4 was. But the concept of it, the philosophy of 6 days a week and the modifications. I mean, my friend Jeremy Yost, 380 pounds, fused right ankle, been overweight forever, couldn't see his feet. His belly was so big. He marched in place. Kathy McDonald, 125 pounds down, a 40-year-old mother of 3 kids, with MS, still to this day. And this is back in like 06, still healthy, still fit, still going strong, just, following those same concepts. So the idea here is, like, for example, P90X had 12 workouts, which nobody else had 12 workouts at the time. Power of 4 has 27.
What?
Yeah. And then there were 47 over the course of the pandemic when we kept on having beta groups. We kept on throwing in new routines. And every month you got a different routine. Every month you got a different calendar. And so for the last 3 years, if you're doing the Power of 4, there's a new calendar every month. There's a burn calendar, there's a build calendar, and there's other ones that are just all over the place because, variety, mix it up, change it up, give you those kind of always, P90X, we called it muscle confusion, which was basically a made up term. Jack LaLanne had this thing called periodization training, which is kind of like that. But yeah, and that's what it really has to be that way. Now, what we did differently with the Power of 4, because we understand as popular as P90X was, a lot of people didn't do it. all the way through, or whatever they gave it to.
They needed to come to my house. I was doing it every day.
You were doing it. Yeah, because you know, it made sense to you. So there's all these extra routines with the power of 4. Plus we have powering down and we have powering up. So it's this, you know, it's another terminology for modification. But you can see 2 different, very distinct ways of doing a certain thing. And then we have something that we put in almost all the workouts called stop options. So some of the workouts are shorter. So we just, you know, like the morning yoga routine is 20 minutes. But then there's 2 other routines. One's called power and strength. The other one's called don't skip yoga, because we had to do that, you know.
Well named.
Yeah, right. So we gave them 3 different yoga routines. And so with the shorter one, you just try to hopefully get through 20 minutes of it, right? Because it's a great way to, start the day with, instead of maybe drinking a bucket of coffee or something. I just, you know, I'd rather use the human body, gravity, and oxygen getting into my blood first thing in the morning. It's just, I just feel more vibrant, more alive, more awake, without having to use a source outside of myself. And, you know, I'll have an espresso once in a while when I'm in Seattle, because you have to. It's a rule,
of course, yes.
You know, and so we have the power down part. The stop options are like, let's say what a routine is 50 minutes long. You can stop at the 20-minute mark and the 40-minute mark. I even not big red letters, stop option, if you want. And I'll say, all right, maybe you feel like you got things to do and places to go, and you're brand new and you're kind of pretty pooped out already. Bye. Fast forward to the end to do the cool down. So we try to come up with as many excuse killers as possible. And you know, there are people who've been doing the Power 4 for close to 3 years. You know, for all our beta folks, we had beta 1, beta 2, and beta 3. And then we had like beta, they all had 3 months, and then we had a 4th month and a 5th month. I mean, you know, this pandemic, it just keeps going. So we're going to just keep you know, going. Giving you more months. And that's the whole idea. You know, I mean, you can lead a horse to water. I can give you as much information as I have. But oddly enough, the vast majority of the Power of 4 aficionados or customers were women. And they, you know, they kind of felt like, oh, you're speaking to me. Oh, or are you showing me, oh, I can stop here. Oh, you know, I've wanted to stop in the past, but there were no stop options. And I always felt guilty when I did. And I thought, I'm not going to get the results now. And then like, you're telling me it's okay to do that. Yeah, because 20 minutes is a hell of a lot better than 0 minutes. Yes. You know what I mean? And the next time you go, you know, I'm going to push past this 20-minute mark, and maybe I'll go to the 40-minute mark next time, you know? And so,
brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you still believe, the other thing I think P90X did is that you didn't really need weights. Like a lot of it was resistant training. I mean, we had the bar that came with it to do a pull-up. I remember like being able to do a pull-up for the first time. So do you still feel like you can get a lot done with resistance training, that you don't need that extra added weight to? Well,
it depends on the individual. I mean, some people just love, they've had weights, they love, you know, I mean, dumbbells and bands. It really, I mean, I have a lot of friends that are traveling right now, and I've just, you know, I have my own line of bands. So I just say, here you go, take the 10, 20 and 30 pound bands, stick them in the bottom of your suitcase and go to town, and, you know, go outside and hang out in the sun and do the shoulder flies and the bicep curls and the presses and whatever it takes. But still, you know, I mean, summertime, you know, working out indoors is good if that's your thing. But if you can get outside and ride a bike, or go for a run, or go for a hike, and then take the bands with you, then that's all you really need. But P90X, it had a pull-up bar. It even had an assist band that you could buy if you couldn't do them. Hopefully, whatever your rig was, that you weren't going to come down crashing onto the floor. But a lot of dudes, you know, they want to lift the weights. A lot of gals were really, you know, thrilled to have the bands and got tremendous results with the bands. And so did a lot of, like the CEO of Beachbody did a whole round of P90X bands only, and he was shredded. He lost some weight. He looked lean. He looked amazing as a result. So, you know, resistance is resistance, and that burn is real. And, you know, if it's 8 reps or 10 reps or 15 or 20 reps, you know, it really depends on what your goals are. I mean, I mix body weight, my tonal, dumbbells, and bands in the course of one workout, because I have them all. And so I don't do just bands, or I don't do just weights anymore. I like mixing it all up. I mean, you know, every workout I do is different. Like my buddies will walk in and go, all right, man, I have no idea what you're doing, but I'll just follow you, man.
Amazing.
You know,
you're a good friend to have, to show up at Tony's
house.
If
they don't show up, I'm sleeping in, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, oh, it's a sign from God that if the 3 of them don't come, they all cancel for different reasons, I'm supposed to sleep an extra hour and a half.
I'm thinking that never happens.
I'm thinking it does.
Oh, yeah. Really?
Oh yeah. I'm not self-motivated, but I'm a good strategist. I know how to get people to show up here. You know what I mean?
Amazing. So they
Yeah.
show up so that you work out.
They show up so that I will get out of bed and work out with them.
Yeah,
and I don't
accountability.
train them. They all know. I mean, if there's a rookie here and there, I'll make sure I spend some time with them, make sure they don't, you know, they do everything
Yeah.
the right way. But I mean, tonight there's already 3 gals and 2 guys coming to plyo. And I
Amazing.
invite like 30 people. It's because if I invite 8 might cancel, and that means there's no plyo for me.
Amazing. Well,
yeah.
next time I'm in LA, I'm going to ping you and say,
you
what are you doing
are
today?
welcome. You are welcome to be here anytime.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you feel like you have to fight for muscle more now that as you age?
Yeah, but my nutrition, the supplement that I made, I mean, I'm a vegan, right? So I have the plant-based, it's called high impact protein. I do 2 big old scoops a day, you know, one after a workout, sometimes before, depending on how much time I have between getting up and working out. And then at night, not right at bed, but, you know, somewhere before or after dinner, typically after dinner. And that seems to help, you know what I mean? It's the HMB and the vitamin D3. I mean, if you, as a doc, you do that, look at the research of that. It's crazy because most people that post-surgical are getting Jell-O and a ham sandwich, you know what I mean? Yep. This is some, you know, I mean, pretty good, right? For 64.
You look great.
Right. So, and I'm strong. I mean, like I can still knock out 30 pull-ups. I can still do, you know, 50 pull-ups in pretty quick period of time. I can climb a rope without my feet. That's my measurement. That's how I can go around a pegboard like I'm on the moon still, you know, and that's my way. And my weight is, I'm lighter than I was during P90. I was about $180 then. I'm about 172 now, give or take a pound one direction. And that helps a little bit. And the flexibility, I work more on the flexibility. And my sleep, I sleep longer than I used to. And I don't drink alcohol at all. I mean, there's all these different kind of rules. And being plant-based, less inflammation there as well. So if I don't have the aches and pains, I have shorter recovery time. I have quality of recovery time. And I mean, am I going to be like this at 75? I don't know.
I hope so. You deserve to be like this at 70.
Yeah, I agree. Because I'm going to retire and I want to go skiing, you know, 80 days a year. So I want to be able to charge down that mountain.
You had a recovery drink in P90X. Is there a new version of a recovery drink in the Power of 4?
Well, the Power of 4 is the workout, but Power Life are the supplements. And Power Life, we have a vanilla and chocolate, plant-based and whey-based protein. Then we had the Foundation 4, which is really about digestion. We have a pre-workout formula called Performance, which is pretty yummy. And then we have a phytonutrient product, which is like the fruit version of Foundation 4, which is really kind of vegetable based. We're experimenting with that because flavor is kind of important, but we want to keep the quality of the ingredients in there. If we don't want, you know, everybody's so taste sensitive that because they, you know, whatever, you can use monk fruit as opposed to cane sugar, and you know, some are more expensive. And now with the cost of everything these days and supply chain issues, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, wow. You know, I mean, it's just 1,000 steps to get there, but we hope to have something by early winter, you know.
I can't wait to see.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the amino acid sensor that gets registered in muscles when you get to 30 grams of protein? So there's a lot of belief that each time you go to eat protein, you want to at least get 30 grams because it triggers mTOR. I don't know if you know what mTOR is. It's a pathway that builds muscle stronger. And so if you come in under 30 grams, you're not hitting that trigger. And so therefore you're not building muscle using the protein that you're actually ingesting. Have you heard that before?
I have not. I do know that when it comes to the HMB vitamin D3 that we put in our protein, initially we had 1,500 milligrams of HMB, and the studies were all 3,000, right? And so, you know, I said, hey, look, I don't know why the studies say X, and we talk about the studies, you know, and all our sales material, and then we're giving them half. So are you asking people to do 2 scoops? So if they're doing 2 scoops, they're not getting as many servings per container as possible. So I kind of put my foot down, and I noticed personally, like with me, because I got it for free, 1 scoop, 2 scoops, you know, and then now I can just do 1 scoop and get the same results. It sounds similar, but I don't know. It might not be the same thing.
Yeah, there's some interesting research on protein for muscle growth, even without exercise. And I'm definitely not advocating for no exercise. But the two principles that are really interesting is this 30 grams. They supposedly, once you get over 90, that actually now turns to glucose and it's going to start to spike insulin. So it's not as advantageous to like eat a huge steak if you eat steak or get too much protein. You want it to be somewhere between 30 and 90. Then the other principle is every 2 to 3 hours, if you are getting 30 grams of protein divvied up over the day, and they say go up to your body weight, that's the best way to get nutrition, the protein of nutrition to really work for muscle growth.
I've heard that grams per body weight thing from way back in the old bodybuilding days. I don't know if that's necessarily true or not. And yeah, I mean, I don't really track it like that. And a lot of it has to do with, you know, are you a 25-year-old collegiate linebacker?
Right.
Or are you a 118-pound, you know, mother of 3 who runs, you know, 5Ks and 10Ks? I think that the amount of protein has got to be a little bit different for each individual.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, that's a good question, and I honestly don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I do. Yeah, I do know that without added protein through my powder, it's just I'm always playing catch up. Because as a vegan, you know, I mean, how many sunflower seeds and legumes and nuts am I going to eat to try to, you know? And I'm also dealing with all the excess, you know, saturated fats that comes with too much peanut butter and whatnot. So yeah, this is kind of working for me so far.
Yeah. And you talked a little bit about a pre-meal or a pre-shake you had. What are your thoughts on, you know, fasting? We teach fasting across my platforms a lot. And do you remember what was the guy's name that did that? He gave the $1 million away to whoever got in the best shape. This is back in like the 90s, and Body for Life. I think it was called Body for Life.
Body for Life. Sure.
And his whole thing was workout fasted, because you would go after stored sugar, you would burn fat more. And so everybody did it that way, lost a bunch of weight. Now we're really looking at what do we need to do to build muscle? Do you feel like you need to eat, and specifically protein, before you work out? Or do you feel like we can still work out in a fasted state and just recover with a good old protein shake?
Well, intermittent fasting has become kind of popular. I do a version of that a little bit myself. It's not well thought out. I just like, for example, a lot of times I wake up in the morning, if I'm not hungry, I don't eat. You know what I mean? Like my first meal of the day is at 3 o'clock. I will do a little pre-workout thing where I'll put my foundation for the performance. You know what I mean? And it's just maybe under 100 calories, just to kind of give me some energy and get me through the workout. And then typically after a workout, if it's a hard workout, I'm not hungry and I don't eat just because I'm supposed to, you know what I mean? And, you know, according to our, you know, this guy, Will Valilla, who's our nutrition scientist over there at the company that makes my stuff, he goes, it really depends on the individual. I mean, some people need that big old thing of protein. They got to wait a half an hour to 45 minutes and then they can do the workout. Other people just don't want anything in their stomach except for like what I'm doing, you know, just a little 8-ounce glasses of some nutrition, and then they can get through the workout. And then, you know, like my buddy Brian, who's just, I mean, he was a regular guy. He was not overweight, but he wasn't fit. He really couldn't do anything. And his plan's been kind of spectacular. He's plant-based, but he'll have steak once in a while and chicken and fish once in a while. He's not really pious or myopic about it either, about that. But he'll show up, you know, do a little something like a half a peanut butter sandwich on toast. Like just put one slice in a toaster, fold it in half, eat it, do the workout, maybe do the pre-workout formula as well. And he'll eat it 3 o'clock, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then he'll have something really light and then he'll have dinner. The main meal that he has is dinner. So he's like all night long. And for the most of the day, he's taking in very few calories.
Yeah. And is he ripped?
Like, ripped.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, a 29-inch waist, strong as an ox. I mean, he looks incredible. He looks like a fitness model. And his wife, every time he comes home from workout, his wife goes, okay, that's enough. That's enough with that. He married like a normal looking dude, like a guy with a dad bod. And now he's absolutely addicted to it. And anybody who comes here, both male or female, who shows up here all the time, who eats pretty clean, who gets some, deals with their stress and gets some sleep, and a decent amount of hydration. Those are the ones that I notice change over time.
Yeah.
People who are sporadic about all of it, just they'll never get there. They just have never been able to get there.
Do you think you said earlier that you like to work out in the morning?
I work out at night. I work out at night too. I work out based on everybody else's schedule.
Okay.
Like yesterday was in the morning because people had to want to be here early and then go off to work. And then, tonight is a 5:30 p.m. workout because everybody's coming in after work. So
Do you think there's an advantage to working out in the morning over evening, or
I think so. It's just a big old great way to wake up.
Yeah.
It's a great way to start your day. I mean, you just got all that, feel good vibes going on first thing in the morning, right? And the norepinephrine, the dopamine, the serotonin, the brain derived neurotropic factor, all that really great stuff, all that oxygenated blood like coursing through your body, coursing through your brain. You just have it's like miracle grow for your head. I mean, I exercise as much and more for my headspace than I do everything else. I mean, I like looking fit, strong. I mean, it's good for my skin. It's good for everything. And so at the end of the day, you've had a really rough, long day and it's filled with stress and work and traffic. And then you come home and your kids are freaking out or whatever. You got to help them with homework. It's like, oh yeah, let me go into the gym at 8 o'clock at night and do ABRAP or X or no, you know what I mean? Get up a little earlier, go to bed a little bit earlier, and then get up a little bit earlier and get it over with. That's, if you can do that. Now with me, I trained people all day long for 15 years. My first client was at 5 o'clock in the morning in the dark, and I left her place and it was still dark. Crazy. You know what I mean? And I'm living on power bars in the car all day long. And I would get a workout and I'd go to the gym because it was a very social thing. I'd go to the gym. It was a 24-hour gym. I go to the gym at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And then I repeated that for years. That was just it. But getting up, I never had the luxury of doing it in the morning. So now that I don't have to get up, my workouts are at 8 a.m. this morning. Yeah, baby. So
you have 3 hormones or 2 neurotransmitters and a hormone that works really well for you. You get dopamine in the morning, you get cortisol spikes 2 hours after you get up, and then your testosterone's the highest, especially for men in the morning. Those are some motivating neurochemicals that'll pull you out of bed and get you into the gym. So I can see, for me, as the day goes on, forget it. I can't work out. Yeah. The morning is my time. So that makes perfect sense.
Well, it's funny because the later in the day workouts are, there's less muscle recruitment, more cardiovascular, plyometric, that kind of a thing, where I feel less vulnerable to injury because I've had the whole day to kind of, get my body, wake my body up. And I still do a warm up and a stretch before I do those routines. But for me in the morning, I don't know. I don't know what sleep is supposed to provide for me. I mean, last night was a spectacular night of sleep. I just, those nights where your head hits the pillow, you have no memory of it, and the alarm goes off and you think, wow, that was amazing. I think as my head is kind of spinning all the time, but the meditation has helped me tremendously with that.
I bet.
You know what I mean? Whether it's 4x4 breathing or the, John Kabat-Zinn's book, Full Catastrophic Living, pulled me out of my Ramsey Hunt days. It's just a lifesaver. And then James Nestor's book, Breath, has been another brilliant book too. That's really helped me be more consistent. Yeah, both.
Yeah, really that's amazing. Yeah. And talk also about recovery days, because you did this, and it sounds like you're doing it with Power of 4 now. How do we know how much recovery time, and what's the difference between I'm going to sit on my couch and recover, or I should probably stretch or go for a walk for recovery? What do we know about that?
Well, there's all kinds of ways to recover. You know what I mean? Like you can roll around the foam roller. That's active recovery. You can go for a walk. That's active recovery. You can go for a nice mellow bike ride. That's recovery. You know what I mean? You can get an infrared sauna. That's recovery. You can take a nap. Ain't nothing wrong with that, man. That's another way to recover. And the best one of all is sleep. I talk about it in my book, The Big Picture. Like, what is that room that you're in like? My wife and I, we don't have any devices in that room. You know what I mean? My wife will try to sneak the phone in once in a while, but there's no TV in our room. It's pitch black in there. She likes the fan going for that ambient noise and stuff. We have, we're on our, I'm married to the Princess and the Pea. We're on our 4th mattress since we've been married. You know what I mean? Now we have a sleep number 1. So it's just like, burger, ha, ha, hard as a rock, soft as a cloud. You know what I mean? It's like that's important. And a lot of people still have the same pillow they had since high school. That just blows my mind.
Oh,
they get so attached to their pillow when you should get rid of that every couple of years. And you know what I mean? It's pretty nasty. And then the sheets are important and all those types of things. and I keep a glass of water next to me. I've been wearing a Breathe Right, and ever since James Nestor's book, I've been mouth taping, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with that or not.
I am.
A lot of people think I'm nuts, you know what I mean? Like, I had a buddy over the other day, and he knocks at my door. My wife is already up and about, and I come in with the Breathe Right and the thing, and I got to take some time to take it off. But I tell you, I mean, I had mild sleep apnea, which my wife did not enjoy at all. It was with my gurgling. But the taping, I'm not going to say it's cured it, but it has certainly mitigated it to some degree. And I just sleep better because I'm, breathing through your nose is ideal. The filtration system that's been custom designed for us works really well, but that ain't a good thing.
No,
you wake up with a Mojave Desert and a couple of dead spiders in your mouth. It's just really gross.
Yeah. And no deep sleep. You get no deep sleep with
No.
Yeah.
So, that's really critical. Your recovery time is everything. And taking a full day off. I mean, sometimes I'm kind of beat up. I'm going to take another day off. Let's say it's plyo. I'll just email everybody and go, I'm kind of wasted.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it off. It's just sort of listening. I mean, if your shoulders hurt, your back hurts, and your hips hurt, and your legs hurt, and your hamstrings are tight, your quad, you're not supposed to work out today. You just, you know what I mean? You haven't recovered completely, or maybe you trained too hard because you felt really good. You drank too much pre-workout formula. I mean, or maybe the biorhythms are off, or the biometric pressure is crazy, or the humidity, or you're living in London right now, it's 104 degrees. You probably shouldn't work out. You know what I mean? It's just sort of, some people become very, very robotic about it. Like, I can't miss a day. I got to do it. And that's when you get hurt. And that's when you get, you end up taking more than one day off. You'll have to take off several weeks because
you're forced to take time off. Yeah. And that P90X really changed that for me because of the variation. I never stuck with one exercise again after that. So talk a little bit about how we get the power of 4. You've got me intrigued now. I'm going to start doing the power of 4. And then 3 years later, I'll come back and tell you I did it every day for 3 years.
You go to my
I assume it doesn't come in a big box of CDs anymore.
No, that's the old days. You just stream it. You go to powernationfitness.org, powernationfitness.org. And that's how you get there. And you'll see a beautiful picture of me in Warrior 2 in front of my pool with hair down to here because it was the pandemic. Man, I just like, hey, man, I let my freak flag fly. My wife hated it. As soon as I got it in a ponytail, she's like, cut that off. But I don't know. I thought, I'm in my 60s. I probably shouldn't do this. I'm not an ex-rocker, so I should probably not do that. But yeah, and then you got a whole week there. You can look around and you can play for free and then sign up if you want. Right now we have a 30-day challenge and you can sign up for that too. That is free, all 30 days. And so there's some beta workouts in there and then 2 of the actual workouts that you will get in the Power of 4. So you get to see, and the quality of them, you'll see the quality of the beta ones, but that doesn't matter. The workouts are solid. And there's 6 workouts there in that 30-day challenge. But there's 27 when you finally get it in the end, and that's just a tons of variety. And then you'll also see all the different calendars. So you can go with the original, month 1, 2, and 3, or then you can go to the burn and build ones that we had for the course of 6 months. And then now in July here, we've got another brand new calendar. So we put up a new calendar every month just to keep that, that variety going.
Yeah. Oh, it's so brilliant. I'm so pleased to hear that you're continuing to put out new products. And when you talked about the gymnastics, my brain went, oh, there's where the next couple of workouts are going to have a gymnastic twist on it. I'm sure if that's what you're learning.
Well, the other thing too, we're doing is we're going to put out a new program, a mini program through some amazing clients. Like we just shot 2 of them at the house. One is Chelsea McKinney, who's the gymnastics trainer, and she shot 6 workouts, and that'll be a 30-day program. And then we had her for 2 days. And then we brought in my buddy, Ted McDonald, who, if you have P90X3 or P90X2, he did his 30-day yoga program, which is a hell of a lot more than just yoga. It's pretty amazing. And then we're going to keep shooting them, just so there's more content, and that's the thing. I mean, you can work out with me, or you can work out with these other great trainers, or you can mix it all together, whatever you want to do.
Amazing. I just love what you're doing. And I'm so grateful to officially meet you and thank you. And I can't wait to dive into the Power of 4. I'm even thinking we have a membership group, and I'm thinking, gosh, we're going to look at the Power of 4 as potentially doing it as a community, because exercise should be done in a community, in my opinion. So,
Well, the power of 4 is made up of 4 things, right? There's nutrition, there's exercise, there's mindfulness and supplementation. That's the foundation of the whole thing. So there's 2 mindfulness routines in there. One's a body scan, one's a 4x4 breathing, and somebody's trying to get in my gate. I have no idea who that is. The other part of it is the supplementation, and that's my supplement. So I would, if you want to check that out, it's mypowerlife.com. And if you and anybody who's part of your group, Tony 30 for the 30% off.
Beautiful.
Take advantage of that.
It.
Yeah.
So I want to finish on this. I ask all my guests this. Do you have a daily gratitude practice? And if so, what is it? And what's one thing you're grateful for in this year? We've just come out of a lot of mumbling and grumbling from people. What are you grateful for in 2022?
Well, I have a little spot in my backyard with an awning, and I sit there every morning and have breakfast and make sure my dog Charlie is next to me. And whether it's a shake or just something, something light and easy, it's kind of a ritual for me because I have a pretty sick view of my backyard. I mean, I live in LA, but we live up in the canyon, up in the hills, and you can look at the city and it's all trees and lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, and it's kind of fun. So that's it. And I'll get out there and meditate, for a bit, and which I love to do. What was the second one? What was it?
Yeah. So what are you grateful for in this year, specifically in this day of age?
I'm grateful for the relationship with my wife. Shauna is just my best friend in the world. And we were saying up in Seattle at my cousin's wedding, how much more in love we are than ever, which is like this weird. It's not supposed to go like that. But, I always tell Shauna, I go, what's my job? And she'll say, to make my life awesome. And that's exactly what I do. I make it about her. Amazing. And that comes from a pretty selfish son of a gun. So amazing. I've learned that keeping her happy and healthy is what makes me happy and healthy.
Amazing. Well, again, I just want to thank you for revolutionizing home workouts, because I don't know where I would have been without P90X. And I'm, again, so excited to jump into the Power of 4.
Yeah, check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. I can't wait to hear what you think.
Yeah, great. And next time I'm in LA, I'm coming to work out with you.
Come to Plyo, come to one of them. You can come to anyone you like.
I love it.
Doctor,
I love it.
Sure,
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate you.
Thank you.